Today, I'm going to be checking out a Rivolta guitar. I know that Fender Guitars was originally a high-end guitar company that was sold, and now the new owners of Fender are here in Arizona, where I live. The old owner of Fender started a new company called Novo Guitars, which is in Nashville. Now, through a deal with Eastwood Guitars, they make Rivolta guitars in the Mir factory in Korea. I did a podcast with Michael, the owner of Eastwood Guitars, and I'll put a link to that video down below if you want to check that out. Today's video, I'm going to be checking out and give you some first impressions of this Rivolta guitar. So here's the gig bag. I can tell it's a really quality gig bag. Interesting enough, what I was told is that even though these are made in Korea, and even though Eastwood, I think, is in Canada, these guitars are shipped from Korea to Nashville so the Novo team can actually set up and ensure each one of these are a quality instrument for you. Here is the guitar. It's really nice. This guitar is a double bound chambered mahogany body, mahogany top if you get a solid color, and a maple top if you get a burst, with a 25-inch scale set maple neck that also has a bound ebony fretboard. It also has dual P90s, and I like the fact that they're in chrome. That's really cool. You got a one-piece wraparound bridge, obviously a tone and a volume control with a three-way switch. Very straightforward. This looks like a cherry burst. The guitar is very light. I will weigh it and put the weight right there on the guitar. Bound neck, bound headstock. I really love this gold pick guard. And so you know, this is not aluminum or metal, this is plastic, which I actually prefer. This is clear plastic looking from the side, and then they're just painting the bottom of it gold. And same with the truss rod cover. You have Clouson style keys. So first thing we're gonna do is tune this guitar up. Took a little while to tune it up. It actually was only a little flat on each string, so they look like they shipped it either in tune or just slightly a little loosened. But the main issue with the tuning, getting it tuned up, was the G string was sticking in the nut. Let's see if it, yeah, you can hear it. Here it is again. One more time. Hopefully the mics will hear this. And so what that is the string is binding in the nut a little bit. It means the slot is just cut either not wide enough for the string or maybe at a slight angle, and we'll determine that in a minute when we go through the guitar. I would rather have, to have to remove some material or lubricate this than have them cut the slot too deep or too wide, and you either have to replace the nut or use some kind of like baking soda and super glue concoction to fill in that slot. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our first finger and we're gonna press it on the first fret of the E string and then the low E, and we're gonna take our thumb, put it on the 24th fret. This is a 24th fret guitar, and you can go ahead and tap. You can do the 12th fret or somewhere above or below that, depending on the length of the guitar. And what you wanna see is how much play is on there. Now in this case, when I'm pushing this down, there's literally no play. The string is almost resting right on the fretboard. And of course, what you would do next, once you see if the neck is straight, I like that method better than when you sight the neck for either relief, too much relief, not enough relief, or a twist, okay? But one of the things you definitely want to do is then walk up the string. So just basically, so the guitar has no fret issues that I can find. There's no dead spots, there's no issues. So let's go ahead and measure and let's see where they set this action off the factory. So on the 12th fret, a low E string, we are at 1.5 millimeters. On the low E, on the high E, we're at 1.25 millimeters. So what we have here is a nylon sock. This is a sock that you can test fret ends with, and because we're going to see if they catch, any of the fret ends catch the sock. And and I want to do this so you understand. I'm going to use the top of the sock because I just did it. Up here where your hands are going to touch, absolutely perfect. No issues whatsoever there. Now if you look down here, there were some scratches. I want to show you here. The scratches are coming from up here. And when I say scratches, you gotta understand, the reason I use this test, I only use it for the videos, is because obviously nylons tear very easily. It's very thin material, very easy to catch any corners of frets. And these little teeny scratches are okay. That just means that this can feel it. If I was feeling this here, I would say that they feel rounded and polished, to some degree highly polished. But like I said, I would agree with what this is finding. Right around here, they weren't polished as much, and that's actually a sign that obviously whoever did this probably figured your hand wasn't going to touch here and didn't work on that area so much. Let's go ahead and really test the bottom, which is where it's going to be more important, and see a little bit of a catch right here, okay? And again, you can kind of hear it sometimes. Sounds like static electricity. And again, lots of scratches. I'll give you a detailed, let's actually walk up and there you go. Whoops, there you go. There's that. What this is this is my test neck. As you can see, it's missing a fret, has all kinds of issues. It's dried out and the frets they're sticking out and they're very rough. I'm gonna go ahead and use this nylon to show you what that looks like if the frets. Now, just for the reference, I wanna make sure so you know, like literally I couldn't like cut my hand with those frets. That's not how bad they are. That's how sensitive this is that these are sticking out just a little bit and they're a little rough on the sides. Next, we want to check the radius, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I thought it was going to be 10 or 12. No, wow. It seems flatter than that. I thought it was going to be a 12-inch radius. Mine are showing about 16-inch radius. Very flat. Now let's talk about this neck carve. This neck carve is very comfortable, beautiful, actually. I would say almost ideal to the carve I like, which is kind of like that 50s Les Paul C carve. Very, very comfortable. We'll give you the measurements on the 1st fret and the 12th fret right here, so you can see that. Measurements are nice in the, reference of your, just reference, but what does it feel like? This definitely feels, like I said, like a Gibson C shape. Now the nut, of course, we're gonna look to see how well they cut those slots, although we know that they're a little narrow. Let's see how deep and well they cut them. There's 2 ways I can test this. I'm gonna give you the way I do it and the way you can do it. The way you can do it is you just press down on the 3rd fret, use your first finger to push down on the 1st fret, and what you want to see when you're touching it and looking at it is almost no gap. That would be perfect. However, if there's a little bit of a gap, like maybe the thickness of a piece of paper, that's fine too. But if you're pushing down and you see a big gap there, that's a problem. Even if it feels well to play, you can have intonation issues. Another way I can test this is I have these fret wires that I've made that have basically their radius to the different necks. And looking at this particular neck, it is a medium jumbo style fret wire or jumbo fret wire. And this one is like putting a 0 fret on the guitar. And what I want is exactly what you see. I want it to see it's perfectly pushed down by each string. Just like that. So that's the ideal situation I want. Perfect. Before we get started with demoing this guitar, we have to fix the issue with the nut. Obviously it was sticking pretty bad. The G string was the worst and the D string was a little bad, but we're gonna focus on this G string. So what we're gonna do is loosen the G string and then we're gonna lift it straight out. And we want to inspect it, and I can already see where it's sticking. It's, in fact, what you want to do is when you pull up, you want it to see, and it does, it snags right there. So there's a couple things you can do. If you're fortunate enough to have a really nice nut file, you can go ahead and just kind of clean it out with that. However, these are very expensive, and I understand you don't have those all the time. So there's other options. You can buy some kind of lubricant. I use Lubrikit, and again, you just inject some of it there, and sometimes that fixes it. However, if you don't have any of those tools, there is another fix. You can get yourself some 400 grit, 600 grit, or 800 grit sandpaper. I use 800, and what you want to do is you want to take this string right here is a 17 gauge. You want to take the next string, which is a 13 gauge. Take your string, and what I want you to do is wrap that around there. And what I want you to see is how I'm just going to do maybe one. There you go. 1, 2. I can already feel it cleaning up. 3 passes, and kind of you can tilt it at an angle like a V. So this side, then tilt it at this angle like a V. I want you to see the amount of material I'm taking away. It's very little. And now I'm going to lubricate it as well. I'm also going to take this time to lubricate all of the strings. The other thing I mentioned is really important is, unlike some of the PRS guitars where that carve comes back up and kind of hits your arm right there, this feels really good. Like this, even though it doesn't have like an arm carve, it feels like it has an arm carve. Nothing about this guitar feels awkward or strange. And I really, really like how they use the mother of pearl as blocks going from side to side. You saw Gretsch, some companies doing that too, and I just love this. It looks fantastic. I really like this one-piece wraparound bridge. This is one piece, and you can see they have set the bridge so it's intonated. They do have adjustment screws in the back, so you can tilt and adjust them back a little bit and help finite that intonation if you have an issue. However, I found with these bridges where they're set, the only time you generally run across a little problem is if you use a wound G string, sometimes the intonation that's a little off, and that gets a little tricky, and I've had trouble with that in the past with this style of bridge. And sometimes you get away with it and sometimes you don't. If it becomes a problem and if you want the wound G string on the guitar, you may have to go to an aftermarket bridge piece that has adjustable saddles. Now, one thing I talk about is the handshake. That's where I grab the guitar right here and hold it and see how it works. And in this carve, even though they round it this way, this little piece right here, it's a little tough. And so when you hold it right here, it's not a perfect fit. Like I wouldn't want to hold that for a long time. There's no big issues. It's also very thick. So if you're a player that will play up in this register, it's going to be a little tricky for you. Although, you know, keep in mind, not everyone has that problem. One of my favorite guitar players on YouTube is RJ Rinquillo. He plays guitars like this. I've never seen him have a problem with it. So in this case, I'm going to say maybe it's my abilities that are in my way, but it's not the most like satisfying feeling right there where I'm playing the guitar. On the electronics, we have some pretty basic stuff here. We have two alpha pots, 500K potentiometers, no treble bleeds or anything like that. The three-way switch, they're using a good quality one, not the box switches that tend to get a little loose and wear out. They're using a very inexpensive type capacitor. Nothing wrong with that. Again, we see that all the time with this stuff. A little bit of foil for insulation. Something else to point out with this guitar is that it is weight relieved. It's semi-hollow, and that's why the guitar is so light. Something else worth noting that's interesting is the tailpiece is made of aluminum or aluminium, which is nice, and that's probably another reason why the guitar is nice and light. So now what we're going to look at is the pickups. They're obviously P90s. These have no markings on them, so I'm assuming maybe the factory there makes them. Now, to get a reference of these pickups, what we're going to do is test them while they're in the guitar. I want to make sure that the volume and tone control are full forward. We'll start with the bridge. I've plugged a very short guitar cable into it. That's what I would prefer if you can. And what I'm going to do is take my multimeter and then select it to ohms. And I have clips. I have alligator clips on mine. So I just go ahead and clip the negative to the shaft of the guitar cable, like so. And then the hot to the tip. Keep in mind when you look at a guitar cable, the main thing you have to understand is that these two pieces are separated by this black line right there. Okay, so once that's done, I can go ahead and read this pickup. And we're reading at 9.07K. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, that's not accurate because there's capacitors, there's a switch, there's this cable. That's just true. This is all going to add more resistance. It's going to change what the pickup reads, but it's going to still give you a pretty close guideline. Go ahead and put that to the neck pickup. And the neck pickup is coming out at 8.29. Okay, so now what we have is the guitar ready for demonstration, but I want to just show you how that improved the G string issue. Let's go ahead and down tune it. You can hear no clicking or issues, and you can get it right to pitch perfectly. So what I did is I went ahead and switched over to the 65 Deluxe Reverb. And using the reverb off that amp just sounds great. It's not a bassy guitar. It doesn't feel bassy in the room. It doesn't feel bright. Kind of feels in that sweet spot. One thing that's different about the guitar is usually with P90s, I just want to kind of hit the string. I want to hit it as hard as I can with the pick. And although that sounds great on this guitar, I just want to play soft. running through my Marshall 2061. It's basically a mini plexi, and running it just full bore, and I have a Keeley's Caverns Reverb in the mix. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to start with a neck pickup, and let's just go. Here we go. Love that neck pickup. And here's that same riff. Here's the bridge pickup. This guitar has a ton of tonal balance to my ears. I feel like the bridge is brighter than the neck, as always, like it's supposed to be, but man, it doesn't feel like it just scoops right down to thin out and then go too boomy or bassy. Middle position sounds great too. You get this kind of like fast, quicker attack. You get the warmth of the neck, but a little bit of the bite of the bridge. And with a little bit of volume adjustment, just roll that volume off, you get that. Same thing with that neck pickup. Let's listen to the neck, and I'm gonna roll the volume back. Here we go. I haven't seen any major finish flaws or anything that concerned me with the guitar. The only issue, of course, we came across was the nut slot not cut either wide enough or smooth enough on the G string, and of course that's been fixed now. And like I said, if you have one of these, like I said, I have a podcast with the owner, Michael, or one of the owners of this Rivolta brand, and he plainly said just contact them and they'll take care of you. And I believe that. He has a 45-day return policy, and it seemed pretty sincere about that. And to be honest with you, the guitar is fantastic. Now, if I want to also point out that during the COVID period, when I've been reviewing guitars, if you notice, a lot of times when I'm pointing out issues, I'm showing you a lot of fixes for these issues because of the fact that we're very aware of the fact that some of the employees are under some tremendous pressure to get these guitars out and to us and also be safe, and also things are going to fall through the cracks, and stuff like that is just something that I've seen. And in the last few videos you've seen, I found little issues, and if they weren't too big, we just went ahead and deal with them because of the fact that, to be honest with you, in this time period, until things change, if this guitar has to be sent back, the odds are they might not have another one to send you. So I wanted to be able to show you if it was small enough we could address it. Other than that, I really enjoyed the guitar, and I have to say I was really impressed with the tone of the pickups. If you guys have questions about the guitar, please put them in the comments down below. Or if you bought this guitar or have guitars like this, let me know your thoughts, positive and negative. It's always nice if people are watching and thinking about this guitar to get some other influence out there of people who bought this guitar and what they thought, how their experience went. And as always, till the next time, know your gear. Today's shout out goes out to David. David, thank you so much. Without support like yours, I wouldn't be able to make videos. Thank you so much for everything you do.